Okay, our next speaker is Marco. I guess it's a go.
When I was 19, my best friend, who I met in high school, invited me to an event for his new business. He invited me to the office he was working at, and I went to check it out. And I watched as presenter after presenter told an amazing rags to riches story. And during the meeting, I took out my phone and I looked up the name of the company that was being presented to me. And I saw countless reviews saying, this is a pyramid scheme, which I didn't know what that was. This is a scam, etc. I'd only been exposed to this company less than an hour before, and I had the same feeling. Something didn't seem right. I've always been cautiously skeptical, and when something seems too good to be true, I believe it probably is. Afterwards, my friend came up to me, and he had this look in his eye, and he was like, I didn't recognize him anymore. And he had this look, and he was like, so when are you going to sign up? And I thankfully managed to get out of there without giving any money. And when I got home, I called him and I said, I looked up this company and I wanted to share some of the things I heard about with you. I don't want you to get hurt by this. And what I was told back was, you're just like everyone else. You don't believe in me. They told me you would say that. And that was the end of my friendship with my best friend of the past 4 years. And it was my introduction to the world of multi-level marketing. When I started investigating MLM companies almost 4 years ago, they'd say things like, we're not a pyramid scheme, we're a legitimate multi-level marketing company. Thanks in part to the anti-MLM movement, I've heard these companies shift the narrative, instead saying, we're not multi-level marketing, we're, and insert one of these following terms: direct selling, social selling, affiliate marketing, referral marketing, network marketing, and so on. The MLM industry has worked very hard to purposely conflate or redefine these terms so that people become blind to the scam that's being presented to them, so they're confused. I don't have time today, obviously, to explain why MLM is not any single one of those things that I listed, but I would like to address the widespread falsehood that MLM is direct selling. So what is direct selling? Well, there's some characteristics that I'd like to name. Here's some of them. First, you actually have to have sales skills. Jason mentioned this. This contradicts the MLM proclamation that anyone can do this, regardless of your training or background. The products in true direct selling are usually special or unique. This is not the case with multi-level marketing products, which are usually overpriced and don't stand a chance of competing with similar brands that people already know and love. MLMs offer no sales training. They have no company support for finding prospects. You might be able to buy leads from your mentor, but that's not really support like a regular company would give you. And there's no protection for keeping retail customers. On top of that, most of the commissions per sale are transferred to the top 1%, as several of the speakers earlier today have shown with slides. I have no slides, I'm sorry. MLM contradicts every single characteristic of true direct selling. To me, the idea that somebody could make a full-time living, let alone millions of dollars, from direct selling is an obvious hoax. We don't have door-to-door salesmen going around in our neighborhood selling stuff that we couldn't get anywhere else, and so we need them. Cities and towns have developed to the point where we have so many options when it comes to retailing. There's big box retailers like Walmart and Target, and there's virtually nothing you can't get delivered to your door at the click of a button in 1 or 2 days, thanks to Amazon. The only businesses, actually, that I can think of that still rely on direct selling as the primary means of distributing their products are illegal ones, illegal drugs. And even marijuana now you can buy through an app. And yet, the Direct Selling Association claims to have over 128 million direct sellers globally. And so to me, this begs the obvious question, is where are these people? Where are they? Wouldn't I be getting propositioned every single day or multiple times a day from somebody knocking at my door or messaging me on Instagram to buy something? And a common rebuttal that I hear to this from the MLM side is, well, the way my company is structured, I don't have to purchase the products and inventory load my garage like some other companies. We have an online store and people use my affiliate link and that makes sure that I get the commission that I'm entitled to. And to that I say, okay, but even so, if the company's goal is to sell products, why not just forego the entire process of having to pay commissions to distributors and use Amazon? And the conclusion I've come to is this: because I don't believe these companies actually do care about selling products. They care about recruiting people who buy expensive starter kits and then pay for monthly fees, product reorders, training materials, etc., for as long as possible, while recruiting other people who do the same thing. The claim that MLM companies sell products through their distributors is contradicted even further by the fact that many MLMs do actually sell their products on Amazon, undercutting their own distributors. If history has taught us anything in regards to business, it's that convenience always wins. The idea that direct selling is a viable business model in 2023 is about as reasonable as saying that opening up a Blockbuster location is a viable business strategy in 2023. It just doesn't really exist anymore because technology has advanced to the point where the direct selling business model is almost entirely obsolete. If you need further evidence for this theory that MLMs don't really care about making retail sales, think about this. The single most important metric for any business to track is, does somebody want to guess?
Profit loss.
Close. Sales. That would be in that too. Sales. You need to know your sales or your business will fail. If you don't know your sales, how can you know your demographic of people who buy your products? You don't know your customers. If you don't know your sales, you can't know which product sells the best. You can't know which product sells the worst. So how can you adjust your marketing and your pricing to offset these figures? And yet MLM companies have no idea of their sales, but they're able to be around for, in some cases, 50 or more years and make more money this year than they did last year. If you were a distributor for an MLM company that sold some sort of goop, shampoo, powder, whatever, I use the word goop, that's Doug, I got that term from him. If you're selling goop, you buy a starter kit of goop from a company, right? And you get a box that has several of the products inside of it, and you take it home. Now you're a distributor. How does the company know whether you sold those products or whether they sat on your shelf? They have no idea. So make sure I find my spot here. So they don't know anything about the real world public demand for their products. They don't know demographics of people who purchase products. So how can it still be around and be a profitable business model? It must mean that the money is coming from somewhere else, or maybe we are looking for sales in the wrong place. What if instead of looking at the well-documented 99% annual failure rates of MLM, we look at how the actual companies make their money? The company sells a starter kit. The company factors in the manufacturing cost of that starter kit into their fee, your starter fee. So they cover themselves. Once the starter kit is sold to its distributor, the company has made its money. They're not taking a loss on that starter kit. They're not giving it to you out of the goodwill of their heart. It's not free. They made money on it. Contrary to the popular belief that the MLM company is the wholesaler and the recruits are distributors who make retail sales, the reality is actually that the company is the retailer and the distributors are customers. The only sales that matter are, in fact, being tracked by the company. Those are the sales of the starter kits and the subsequent purchases made by distributors as a means of qualifying for higher commissions. This is the business model. It's a closed loop of people buying products from the company month after month and convincing others to do the same thing. And real sales made to people in the world is an afterthought. If this is not the case, I would challenge any MLM company out there to open up their books and prove that there are real people out there in the world who are not friends or family members of current or past distributors who have a real demand for their products. Show the data that you have that indicates your business would be successful even without the recruiting aspect. Show how much of the company's revenue is made from sales other than those made to distributors in the form of starter kits, fees, and training materials and reorders. I thought that was a period, it was a comma. Hopefully, it's clear that even the name, the Direct Selling Association, is the tip of the iceberg of deception. Deception is the lifeblood of multi-level marketing. Now, like Jason, I've spent hundreds of hours attending the opportunity presentations of different MLM companies, and in every single meeting I've ever attended, the speakers tell a rags to riches story full of deceptive earnings claims, which are used to entice people to join the company. These claims continue on social media daily, primarily through the use of Instagram stories, which expire after 24 hours, so it's hard for regulators to catch them in time. Recruiters say stuff like, if I can do this, you can do it too. And when 99% of people inevitably fail each year, as per the design of the system, they'll change that story and they'll say, this business isn't for everyone. Not everyone can be the boss. We still need people to flip the burgers and make the coffee. In every one of the subsequent meetings, there's extreme emphasis on recruitment and motivational teachings based on pseudoscience, such as the law of attraction. This is intended to improve a person's mindset. And once recruits are started down this self-improvement path, they realize that your mindset can be infinitely improved. And this opens the door for a never-ending demand from your upline to get you to buy more tickets to these motivational events, expensive, speeches and training materials, whatever, you get me. And these are falsely billed as training, these events. You talked about this. I have never attended an MLM opportunity meeting where more than 5 minutes was spent on the actual product or service offered by the company. I've seen MLM recruiters use social and economic factors to convince people that now is the time to join, regardless of the time period. Recently, I saw a video from a high-ranking MLM distributor, I won't say the company name, from 2009. And he says, now is the time to join the company because we saw last year with the economy going down and people need another source of income. I saw another video from this same distributor that was posted in 2020 and again in 2021 where he says, now is the time. You saw last year with the COVID lockdowns, everybody lost their job, the banks are going crazy, you can't trust it. So you need to build another source of income. And he's one of the many examples of MLM reps who I have seen say something like, our business model is recession proof. And they are right, but they're not right because it's such a good business model. It's recession proof because when we're in a recession and the economy is bad and people are desperate, they're more likely to make a risky financial choice and suspend their critical thinking, and they're more likely to be scammed. Simple. More deception can be found in the common practice of MLM companies referring to their recruits as IBOs or independent business owners. This is a blatantly false term. Recruits are not independent. They rely on the company for everything, from the way the compensation is structured to the actual products themselves. These recruiters are 1099 contractors, not business owners. For comparison, a pizza delivery driver is a 1099 contractor. And if back when I was 19 years old delivering pizza for a large Canadian pizza chain, I had told my friends and family, I'm a independent contractor for a large national company and I specialize in product distribution, technically it would have been true. But most people with a brain would look at me and say, oh, so you're a pizza delivery guy. I hope that when people hear things and say, I hope when people say things like, I'm an independent business owner working with this amazing company and helping people to achieve financial freedom, people look at them and go, oh, so you're in a pyramid scheme. This brings me to the topic of disclosure and what I would like to see from regulators like the FTC. I know many people have bemoaned the fact that MLMs have been given an exemption regarding the business opportunity rule. I personally think it would be a start, and it would give the impression that the FTC actually does care about MLM companies providing fair disclosure to new recruits. But I also recognize that it would be almost impossible to enforce these disclosures, and they would probably just tell other lies behind the scenes. I also recognize that the FTC is probably more inclined to make baby steps towards a broad solution, because doing something drastic like banning MLM completely would probably raise way too many questions about why it wasn't done sooner. I'm willing to work with the FTC, and I have some suggestions about changes that could be made that would benefit society as a whole. First, since the vast majority of money generated by the DSA actually comes from MLM companies and not direct sales companies, I think the DSA should be ordered to change their name to more accurately represent what they really are. the Multi-Level Marketing Association. Second, I propose that MLM companies should be banned from using the term independent business owner or anything along those lines in reference to their recruits. I recognize that both these changes would probably do little to stop the deception that goes on behind the scenes, and the industry will just find fancy sounding new terms to use. But since the current nomenclature of MLM is a deceptive one, I believe these changes would create more transparency and free millions of people from the illusion that being in an MLM makes you an entrepreneur or a business owner. Next, I'd like to address the FTC. Next, I would like the FTC to publicly disclose what the difference is between a legitimate MLM company and an illegal pyramid scheme, as their website's language on this, in my opinion, is vague and confusing. Many still wrongly believe that MLMs have products and pyramid schemes don't, but even the FTC's page on MLMs and pyramid schemes says that an MLM offering a product can be a pyramid. And this is supported further by the fact that of the more than 30 MLM companies that have been shut down for being pyramid schemes, they all had products. It's also telling that MLM and pyramid schemes share a page on the FTC's site, and yet no clear distinction is made between the two. So what's the difference? Further, I challenge the FTC to follow up on this clarification by just naming one company that operates as a legitimate MLM. Surely, they have investigated companies they did not find to display one of the 4 red flags of a pyramid scheme listed on their site. It's my opinion that the 30-plus MLM companies who have been shut down for being pyramid schemes are not just bad apples tarnishing a legitimate industry, but that the industry itself is a fraud. This claim is probably, seems grandiose to some people, and it was once grandiose to suggest that cigarettes should have warnings on them, or that Enron was a fraud, or that Bernie Madoff was running a Ponzi scheme, or that Elizabeth Holmes wasn't the next Steve Jobs, or that Sam Bankman-Fried wasn't lying about FTX. And lastly, we good, so? Lastly, I'd like to point out the hypocrisy regarding the fact that Ponzi schemes are illegal and MLM companies are not. My personal definition of an MLM is a Ponzi scheme with extra steps. In a Ponzi scheme, all a recruit has to do is give the organizer their money and wait for the return that they were promised. They're told that they can earn a higher return if they get more people to also join and invest. The organizer pays out the old investors with money paid by new investors when no new investors can be found, or when old customers ask for their money back at a rate that outpaces the new money coming in, the scheme collapses. With a Ponzi scheme, as long as you get in early enough and take your money out early enough, you could actually see a return on your investment. In an MLM, you still have to give them your money, except you now have the added burden of buying inventory and maintaining a purchasing and recruiting quota known as volume, not to mention the monthly fees for access to the company's back office software, training events, personal costs, gas, cost of your time. And in the John Taylor study that I think you mentioned, he reported findings that you have about a 10% chance of success in an illegal pyramid scheme compared to the 0.4% annual chance of success in a multi-level marketing company. And yet, Ponzi's are illegal and MLMs are not. The Madoff Ponzi scheme took decades to accumulate and was estimated at $64 billion. Meanwhile, the DSA website says they generate $128.9 billion every single year, making the Madoff Ponzi scheme look like peanuts. And consider that many of Bernie Madoff's victims were some of the wealthiest people in the world who were still rich after the fact. They were just less rich. MLM goes for the lowest hanging fruit and the most vulnerable people. My friend was one of those people. He got lured into a scam during a time in young people's lives where they're seeking purpose, an identity, approval, and MLM stripped my friend of his identity and gave him a new one. And that new identity stripped me of my best friend. This industry urgently needs tighter regulation and reform, and I'm going to continue to do my part to see that through. Thank you. Was that good for time? Okay.